Well, well, hello everyone, and welcome to Tarot for Our Times. And this is Sarah Sachs, your medium on the go. So, and this is I'm recording this on Friday afternoon, and I will put it up on Saturday afternoon, 24 hours from now, probably so 3 or somewhere between 3 4 o'clock, because I want to give this is not a time sensitive reading, and I'm trying to follow my YouTube, I don't want to call them gurus, but tutors about getting more viewers. So I thought if I do the 24-hour thing, that we'll see what happens. Okay, it's enough to make you dizzy, all the information out there on doing that. So, as I woke up this morning, I was thinking, oh my God, so much has happened. I don't even know where to begin with the video. And then it's been my morning before I get out of bed that I watch Tim, is a British tarot reader, and he's got the most adorable little dog, Alfie. And what I like about Tim is that, and he really is a lesson that you do not need a lot of fancy equipment, because he's got the window light, and I don't know if he's doing it on his phone or whatever, but he's very, very simple, but very popular. So I was watching him, and I always enjoy his little chit chat about the garden, going to the shops, and he's just so affectionate with that cute dog of his. But he said that today's program, and he read oracle cards on this, and it's pretty much about it was pretty much like this too shall pass, and that the rest of the world is very much affected by what's going on. And he was saying that that's why I called this shining the light into these dark times, because he's saying the light always comes through eventually. The light does shine through, and it wipes out the darkness, or it exposes the darkness. So, of course, as I was listening to him, I thought of this card is the High Priestess, and she's sitting between the dark column and the light column. So this is very much about sitting between your dark side and your light side, and this is what the States has been doing for quite a while. And as I and so many of my colleagues have said, is that it's a very Jungian thing. We all have our shadow side. Countries have their shadow side too. But the important thing is to acknowledge that and to shine the light on it by the other pillar. Now, a lot of times when I've seen other readers, and even doing readings myself, when the High Priestess comes up, everybody goes, ah! Because she's about keeping secrets and all that sort of thing. But I do read cards in reverse. A lot of people don't, and I don't criticize them for that, because they find their dark side of the negative energy of the cards in their own way. But I love reading reversed. So when she's reversed, it's about the keeper of secrets and the very dark side. But when she's upright, she is the kind of person that is that she savors all spiritual practices. She's got a Torah. She's got a Torah in her hand, and the moons. She's got all these moons, which she's a very feminine spiritual person. And she's got a cross on, but it's the cross of, it's not, I was told, it's not the Christian cross. It's kind of like the pagan or the earth worshippers type of cross. And in the background, it's the Tree of Life, which is a Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism. And so you can find if you study this, you can find a whole lot of other things. So right now and this is what so many of us have said, that we have to go around one more time with him to put even more light on the shadow side. Now, it's very naive to think that that those that have drunk the Kool-Aid and the triple Trumpers and all of that and the cult type of people are going to change. But if we could see their numbers diminish into something that they've become kind of like a footnote, that's the best we're going to do. We're never going to get rid of them. There's always going to be that element, but there have to be more of us than them, and there are. So he was very, very interesting this morning, and he was talking about, and I agree with him. He was saying that this is not the World War II era of the type of authoritarianism. And I did write a comment on this saying that I went along with him because, first of all, Hitler and Mussolini were a lot younger than Trump is now. If he wanted to really be successful for this, he needed to do this like 30 years ago. But he's older, and his health, although I know a lot of 80-year-olds that are, they've taken care of themselves, but he's not one of those. So it's his age and his health, which you can see he just looks absolutely awful. So I would say, I wrote in the comments, I would say this is more like Watergate on steroids. And I've done a reading comparing that, and as things develop, I might do another one. So, and he talked about that he didn't think people were born evil. So I immediately thought of the author Alice Miller, who is a Swiss psychologist. And when I was in Seattle in AA, a lot of us read her books. And this was sort of, I went to the free thinkers types of meetings. I mean, I figured the big book would that would get you through the first 90 days about you don't drink, you won't get drunk, and all that. And it's kind of a quaint, written in the 1930s or whatever. So we would discuss Alice Miller's books, and I think I've read about, 3 or 4 of them. And she's best known for The Drama of the Gifted Child, which is the one that people associate with her the most. And basically the theme of these books is that abused children can grow up to be toxic people. Now, if an abused child comes upon what she refers to as the enlightened witness, then the child could, choose to get therapy and become a good citizen. And it's a complex thing. Because someone did reply to my comment that's saying there are a lot of abused children that don't grow up to be like these kinds. And I said yes, and I mentioned the enlightened witness and saying it's a complex thing. But I did make the point in saying not all abused children grow up to be monsters. But you can bet that all monsters were abused children. So, in this way, this brings up a lot of spiritual questions and issues and psychology. Now, Alice Miller is an interesting person herself because I finally read her bio, and I know that her books were originally published in German and then translated. And she does put down Freud and Jung. I can't believe that, but at any rate, so I never really knew her story, but apparently she was born in Poland, and she was Jewish, and when she was a child, they had moved to Berlin. Now, in the early 30s, she was born in 1923, so when she got to be about 10, 11 years old, her parents saw the writing on the wall, so I think they went back to Poland, and it was... they all got placed in the ghetto, and she managed to escape and changed her name to a more Christian sound and passed for Christian apparently, and she was able to get her mother and her sister out, but her father passed in the ghetto, so she was very well acquainted with the Holocaust. But in one of her books where she writes, it's about stories of serial killers and the abuse that they had as in childhood, and she talks, Hitler is included in that as well. And she has a pretty big one. And she goes into quite a bit of detail about how his, I think his great grandfather had been a servant in a Jewish, wealthy Jewish home with the rest of the, with the wife and all that, which is common back in the 19th century. Their story, I don't think she was able to deny or confirm that he had had an illegitimate, oh no, it was the wife, the great grandmother, that might have had a little something to do with the Jewish head of the household, and a child came from that, which I believe was Hitler's grandfather. And he was kind of brought up in the Hitler household. So he got I think the whole thing was that they were very militaristic and, drilling the children and all that sort of thing. So he grew up in the Hitler household, and it was horrendously abused. And then he abused his son. It was very abusive, which contained most of the psychological and physical abuse. And then Hitler's father, in turn, abused him and made him feel like he was a piece of garbage. So this is a very extreme thing. But I'm kind of, when I think back on reading about that, I'm figuring for her, she wrote it in a very, not so clinical that you couldn't understand it. It was very readable, but like a psychologist writing about a case history, really, well, this is how it was and this is how it turned out, without being emotional about it. But when I read her history, that her family was a victim of Hitler, and yet she could detach herself and write a very thoughtful piece in that chapter. So I think that Tim did get into a lot of things that were very thought-provoking, and he was saying that the light wins out, the light shines on the darkness. Now, unfortunately, back in those days with Mussolini, that was 20 years of terror. Hitler, it was a little over. It was like about, I think in 34 he came to power, so 1945, that was so 11 years. But the big difference was you didn't see he kind of crept up on it, and he was a teetotaler, although there are, when things got kind of heavy, he did use amphetamines, which is kind of a parallel to Trump in a way. He's a teetotaler, but there's been, for entertainment purposes only, some very credible talk about him using Adderall or some kind of stimulant. But the difference is that, Hitler they were evil, of course, they were awful people, but they were efficient, they were focused, and they were pretty much sober maybe till the end of it, when things started to fall apart. But Trump, what did he get? Incompetent buffoons who were drunks and junkies. And the Muskrat and the Secretary of Defense had Mr. Hedgehog, Happy Hour, and I would say Robert Kennedy, whose clean and soberness is kind of hanging by a thread. As I say, for entertainment purposes only. That's not a good recipe for the success of a dictatorship taking over a democracy. You can call it, you can split hairs, but we can call it a democratic republic, but it has democracy as a component of that, and with a very strong constitution. So that is not real hopeful. And the fact is that people like Mussolini and Hitler and all the other dictators, they never let the public know what they were on. They kind of snuck up on them, for the most part. But this one, he can't keep his mouth shut. He just cannot keep his mouth shut. And that's just not the greatest recipe for a success in having authoritarianism. And I was midway through Hogarth's Thursday Fry Up, and he was pretty much talking about well, hopefully I don't forget the point I was trying, that what he about the total madness of all of this. Like, this is just total craziness, and that this is really unsustainable, actually. But he's looking at it from a British perspective, but it really does affect. That's what I'm saying. It really is affecting their economy, and the whole thing with all the stock market stuff is that the euro may become the currency that replaces the dollar. And I'm thinking, boy, I bet those Brits are regretting leaving the EU. They probably could have, if they had stayed with it, they probably could have said, to hell with the pound, we're going to go with the euro now. So, I think the thing is that things are happening very quickly now. So what I want to take a look at, and I know I've gone a bit long with this, but I think this is a very important topic, is, first of all, where is this going? I think things are moving very fast. So when you look back at Watergate, even before the internet and things, when I think of it, it seemed to last forever. But the thing is that when you look at it, he was inaugurated in January of 1973. August 1974, he was gone. He made it barely a year and not even 8 months. Now we have the internet, so things have been moving very, very fast. And yes, I think the point I was trying to make is that Trump has a way of throwing people under the bus, and that the oligarchs are not being too bright because they're underestimating him. In the fact is they don't see him quite as Putin, but he could do what Putin has done with his oligarchs by, windows and poison tea and all of this sort of thing. But the oligarchs going with this one are really kind of deluding themselves into thinking that he wouldn't do the same thing when he's every bit as capable. So I think and that he's not the only one of us to be pointing that out. So that's an important part. So I do want to do a reading on where's this whole thing going now, as far as the light pillar shining on the dark pillar. And the thing is that I'm not competing with Tim's reading this morning, because he uses a lot of oracle decks. So I want to see what the tarot deck does with this. And I think one of these may be a short reading because I don't want to go too long. Okay, so okay, so the indicator is the Three of Pentacles in reverse. So where there's at now is that he's just not willing to negotiate, and he is holding back. He thinks this is like the illusion that he made a grand bargain as far as this tariff business, but now it's coming out like boom. Didn't take long that Adam Schiff wants to open up an investigation about his manipulating the stock market, and he would brag on the phone about how all his buddies got rich from the bump the other day. Okay, so the energy around this is Three of Swords. So this is the treason. This is the betrayal, which will lead to heartbreak, which is about, yes, he will throw his oligarchs under the bus if he needs to survive. He may not take care of himself, and he may not have a lot of, he may not live to be 100, shall I put it? But he does have an instinct for survival, and if that means he'd throw his own kids under the bus, which he's kind of hinted at, do so. Okay, so we've got this, and then we've got the energy of this is the Page of Wands, with his throwing his being the like the nasty child throwing tantrums and screaming. They're very immature. And I also see this maybe as the beginning of the end of his inspiring the folks. So this is a little bit more of the light being shown on the dark pillars. So, I can't make this up. Boy, did these two cards get the Page of Wands in reverse and the Page of Cups in reverse, which is our titty baby card. So, in between his throwing a tantrum, he's crying like the little baby that he is, our toddler in chief. This is really kind of like the dark side of his whole psyche. Also, this is the Alice Miller wounded child. And so, with the Four of Cups, failing to see the obvious and running out of options. So in opposition, we've got, the Star. The Star is that it's about being the star and being in control. The important thing, it's a very showbiz thing, remaining the star of his show, which is kind of delusional. And then we have on the conscious level, we have the Five of Swords in reverse, which is the delusion that he's going to keep getting away with his stuff forever, and that he will have his loyal followers around, when the reality is the upright version, which is, he may have that power, but they're peeling off, but he doesn't see it that way. Boy, that talk about the shadow side. So the subconscious thing is, here we go, is that whole overriding thing that he is always going to be the star of his show. That's what's keeping him, and he thinks that everybody else thinks that he is too. So this is all part of his consciously and subconsciously. That's part of his delusion. So then we have, in the past, we have Justice, and that's all those court cases now. Apparently, the Central Park 5 lawsuit can go through. So, and Justice is, and this is all that court stuff that's been looming in his past before he took office. So that has been just starting to shine the light on the dark pillar of his soul. But too many people were too stupid to see that, and they voted for him anyway. So going on in the present, we have the Four of Cups. In this sense, I'm going to see that he is so focused on whatever stupid thing it is, without seeing that that he kind of leaves all those other things hanging. It's like the stocks one day and a helicopter, an airplane crash, I think in New York today. I mean, it's just like you need a scorecard. So he just it's kind of like him going from one thing to another. So in the immediate future, we have the Page of Pentacles in reverse. So this little fella's giving him a message that he's not listening to, is like, your health and your fortune will be going. It's on its way out. So I'm going to say that that's not going to be the greatest for his mental health, and that's going to make him more dangerous. And then we have, coming up in the more distant future, the Two of Swords. Oh, this is Libra, Gemini. I think it's more Libra. But the duality of, as things get really bad, he's not going to be able to make decisions. He is not going to be able to decide, because delusions are growing better. So as this happens, there's more stuff that's just going to pile on and pile on. So let me see. In the hopes and the fears. Here we go again. Justice. And this is all about why he really wanted to run again, and it did not make any better with the Supreme Court thing about his continual fight with the justice system. So he's hoping that the Supreme Court will make some more ruling. He didn't do too well with them yesterday when they said, you're going to get that guy out of the Salvadorian concentration camp like now. And there's the lawsuits, but he's hoping that the Supreme Court is going to play ball with him, but he fears the justice system more than ever, which is telling me that he's really on a downward trajectory. And I'm just feeling as though this is happening so fast. So then what we have here in the the conclusion, Eight of Wands, in reverse. So that is all about he's going to be throwing a whole bunch of stuff at the wall that's not going to hit the target. It's going to miss. And it's all going to become so confusing that this is probably not going to be a boon to his mental health. So, so I think that's enough for that. So what I'm saying is that this whole thing is going to be accelerating, very much accelerating. And it's just not going to get better for him, because what all of this stuff is saying is that he is going to, as more light is shown on this is contributing to his downfall. All this thing like the justice and the, the illusion that he's able to negotiate things, that just is not, that's really not working for him. So the next reading I want to do is about, what it means to us. Oops. Forgot to turn that off. Okay, it looks like a spam call anyway. So, what does this mean to us? I mean, it's really been doing a number. It's been doing a terrible number on us. Coping with all of this. And I think the thing is to see this for what it is, and to know that all of these catastrophes, this is all adding up to, it's just another nail in the coffin of the administration. And some people, for entertainment purposes only, say that it could be the nails in his coffin, because he's just not the healthiest guy anymore. I mean, and we don't know anything, that's a bigger state's secret than all that stuff he tells to Russia that we don't know, but he just looks awful. So I want to see about how this affects us, pretty much what we can do about it and all that sort of thing. Okay, so I think I'm going to bring out the Llewellyn deck for this portion of our program. I think what's going to happen is that as more people get thrown under the bus by him, that and they wake up to this. And also, I think that this whole thing with the tariffs, I have a feeling he probably knew. I mean, anybody with half a brain would know that the markets would react with that, but he didn't. I don't think he let everybody in on this whole thing so they could go and buy low before he made the announcement. So there's probably some pissed off oligarchs too. So, so what What does this mean to us? I mean, what is this going to do with us? And I don't know if I even give it months. So, okay, so this is very important. We have justice in reverse. Now, justice in reverse it's a lot about karma, but it can be about the legal system. But this is all about him evading the justice system and a lot of the other stuff he's done that he seems to get away with. But the thing with justice in reverse is like, we're going to get him, but on our time, the universe's time, and maybe not necessarily your time. So, to me, it's been a long time. And this is also about his the big energy driving him to take office again was to avoid justice too. So this is about the karma. Now, if the justice system doesn't get him, something is going to. And this is all of this drama, which makes his first term pale in comparison. It's all adding up. It's like I've never said that, there's going to be some big event that's going to change the whole. No, it's the piling on of all of these things. So the energy is the star in reverse. His star is starting to fade. It's not going to blink out. Unfortunately, it's not going to blink out all at once, but it's tarnished. And so underneath of this, we have the Emperor. I would say this is, you know what I'm feeling as though this may be Bernie as the big force in the back. He's probably the big force in the big engine in the Senate. And I always said he would be considered like the elder statesman of the Senate, like Ted Kennedy. So I did. People were wondering about that horrible voting act that had passed the House but not the Senate, and I made a comment on Hogarth's show that it was stopped in the Senate the last time, and I believed it would be this time, and that Bernie would be a major factor in that. Okay, so we have death in reverse. It's like every time you've thought he was finished, no, he isn't. So all this means is that this is kind of like he's had a lot of near-death experiences, but that's that's weakening now. That's real. So it's all going to lead to one thing, which is going to pop that card up. But I look at this as more of the beginning of the end than rather the end when you see it upright. So then we have here. Coming up, he's going to lose his smugness and not be feeling so secure. So we're talking about the paranoia setting in. So I want to see in the opposition, we have here, what do we have here? I still have to look at this. The Magician. Okay. In reverse. The old tricks are not working as well anymore. His magic is starting to fade. But the Magician in the in reverse is also about misusing the talents that a person has had. So what could have been a good businessman because of being so crooked and this and that, it just I think in the end it weakens that whatever they had when they were younger. So that is definitely weakening. So with us, so this is starting to show. This is like they're starting to smell the blood in the water, as I've said. Okay, so with us and being affected by all of this conscious thoughts. Okay. I did shuffle these very well. Okay, the Five of Swords is saying he may still have the power, but we're starting to see people peeling off. You could watch a zillion videos of the poor red-hatted FAFO crowd. Okay. Subconsciously, we're feeling heightened emotion. I mean, it's just sort of like this whole heightened emotion thing, but knowing that when this is over, the joy that we are going to be entitled to, we're looking for that. We're looking for that dancing in the street when he lost to Biden, knowing it's deep down inside, but it's just so hard to bring out. But to know that maybe we need to meditate on that, because to know that that could be coming is very, it does give hope. So let's see. In the past, we have the Two of Swords. In the past, but this time it's a Two of Swords in reverse. We pretty much know the answers, but we're so blinded by this barrage of stories and scandals that maybe we should take some joy in saying, okay, that's just another one down. But it also is like our lives are on hold in a way because of all of these cutbacks and the Doge boys and all this kind of crap, that we really need to take the blindfold off, see this for what it is, and do what we can do. It is very important to stay in the law. They wanted to round up everybody from last Saturday, but nobody broke any laws. No, one head bump in Indiana, and the police have the APB. They've got better things to do. Okay. So that's a very important thing now. So going on now, this is all kind of like doing what you can do, and it's sort of like, as much as I find it amusing to look at spray painted Teslas, please don't do that. In one small town near me in West Mifflin, some woman spray painted a Tesla truck, and now it's like she's enemy number one until the news cycle is over, and then somebody, sticks up the liquor store or shoots somebody in a drive-by. Then it'll be like, who did what? But don't do that stuff. It's okay. The Seven of Pentacles. Right now we're in a place of like, how did this happen? We had such plans, but the fruit of that tree just does not look that great. I mean, this guy is really staring at them like that. This is kind of the looking over of maybe the mistakes we were made, but don't stay there for too long. The thing is to look and see what we can, but this is the regrets, and I think this may be some of the regrets of the, see, he's wearing the red robes. Yeah, the regrets of the some of the former MAGA. He's got the robe on, but he doesn't have the hat. So that's what's going on now. So that is a point of light, a ray of hope. So coming up in the not too distant future is the King of Wands. So this is the aspect of him that is the angry, tirade throwing, unfaithful. So someone who is unfaithful to his serial cheater. I mean, everybody makes a mistake, but for the serial cheater, like he is, people are becoming aware of the fact that he could also betray the country. So this is what taking a closer look. It's also looking inside of ourselves and saying, we can't betray ourselves any longer, which is Mr., voter remorse, MAGA. Looking in a more distant future with this, we have, what is this? Oh, strength. This is a really interesting, strength is in reverse, like that horse that was charging through may be stopping. So that's a look at, as we look about what this whole thing, it's what I did the other day about the toxic masculinity. This is about what we thought was strength and manly and all that BS really isn't. So that's taking a look at our own values very much about what is sometimes, I think people like Cory Booker standing on the, you know, podium in the Senate for 25 hours, not moving and talking. That was a show of strength. Bernie and AOC and whoever else he can gather going into the reddest of the red districts with the message, that's very brave too, because we're dealing with people that may be kind of unhinged, but they've been well received because they're working from, they, even though they're not the majority, they're the stronger ones, and that's what we have to look at. It's like finding the strength that others are trying to take away from us, and to know what strength really is, and that this gun toting and chest beating stuff really is not strength. We may have thought it was before, but it isn't. It's like the people, going back to the Hitler comparison, the people in the resistance who, and they got caught, and it was just absolutely awful. They showed more strength than the pound chesting, leather coated wearing Gestapo did. So that's an example of what is strong and what isn't. So this is going out further. This is further down the road, and I don't think it'll take too long. So our hopes and fears are, I don't know if anybody that's gotten a night's sleep, but I think the hope in this is take your hands off of your eyes and take a look at the blanket. It's covered with roses. Those swords are just the blinds, and they're not really swords. It's just to lie back and go to sleep. So there is some hope, but to not be our own worst enemy. So, in conclusion, the big concluding card is, let's see, what is this? The Four of Wands in reverse. So this is the spectator of sport of watching all the alliances, which I think are starting to fall apart. Watch all of the alliances of the Trump team going to pieces. I mean, they're not even, this is interesting because usually you see the couple here. In this card, there's no couple, which means it's all gone. They've gotten divorced, and they're on their merry way. So that is it. So in the big, what can we learn from this thing is the Nine of Pentacles. I think the big thing we could learn is what we value. That having all, and this is the lesson of the oligarchs, that having all of that money and power isn't all that it's cracked up to be. First of all, if you want to look at the health industry, what Luigi did, and I'm not condoning it, but we're looking at the results of what he did, is that those people, they have to stay in their gilded cages. No going out to, fancy restaurants or galas. I mean, you don't see anything about them. No going to Maxime's in Paris or any of that stuff, because they don't know if there could be an assault. So they've got armed guards. They're pretty much sequestered in their gilded, Park Avenue penthouses or wherever. So that is making us take this will spread to other oligarchs who will be living in fear, is that we will realize that these people are not really that strong. After all, we have strength in reverse. And that it maybe isn't the most ideal thing. So I think with all of this is a lesson in what's important, and making us re-examine this whole celebrity nonsense. So, okay, so the big thing to be taken out of this is that, to even sort of take it a step beyond Tim, is to say, this is not going to last. The light always wins out over the darkness. but that they have lessons, and that we will be going through a bit, not everybody, but a lot of people will be going through the big shift in values. So when they talk about the Great Awakening, I don't know. I feel like, 'cause some of these people, like zap, you'll be hitting with a bolt of lightning with, altered consciousness on the latest date. I don't know if it's the 20th of April or whatever it is, which happens to be Hitler's birthday, but it's also Earth Day too, I believe. But it's that Great Awakening comes from like all of these things piling up, just like his demise will be from all of these things piling up bit by bit by bit. So apparently, a lot of us have to suffer from the lessons that were not learned from the first time around, but it goes beyond him, and it's showing the light of the dark pillar of the shadow side of the USA, which is, we were founded on slavery, and we had segregation, and they want to take us back to that. See, that's the thing. It's like, I didn't think we were going to get this close with all this DEI nonsense, but it looks as though that's kind of what they're aiming for. So this is exposed to us, so we have a chance to say, no, we're not going to do it. And by the looks of all the people out there last Saturday, and that these protests are not over, I would say I'm feeling pretty optimistic. But I'd love it to happen right now, but I think it's going to be, as they say, on the universe's time. But at any rate, I do want to end this. I was kind of excited when I saw Tim and Alfie, little Alfie, today, that I thought, wow, this really needs an examination. And the thing is that with this, it's not like the usual ones where I do a reading on, the tariffs, this or that, and it's kind of like time sensitive. It should go up in about a few hours, as opposed to this, which is really more about hopefully this is something you would watch a week from now, a month from now, because this has a much broader context. So on that, I will say bye for now, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.